They say Halloween's the season for ghosts and monsters, but I think the ones that really haunt us don't live in the dark. They're the ones that live inside us. Fear of failing, fear of not being enough, and fear of being seen for who we really are. Every man faces those demons in silence, in struggle, and in the fire. But here's the thing about fear. You don't beat it by running, you beat it by walking straight through it. This is Into the Fire, and I'm your host, Zach Monroe. Today is Halloween, and together we're facing those monsters. Because the fire inside you burns hotter than your fear. Welcome back to another episode of Into the Fire podcast. I'm your host, Zach Monroe, and today is October 31st. Happy Halloween to everybody out there. It is officially the end of spooky season. I got the kids off to school. They got their Halloween costumes today. And they're excited to get out tonight and do some trick-or-treating, even though we're getting the tail end of that most recent hurricane. I think it's Hurricane Melissa. But it's spooky season, and it's that time of year when we hang those cobwebs on the porch, carve up our pumpkins, and as men, pretend we're not afraid. Maybe we're not afraid of the dark. But tonight, we're not talking about ghost stories. We're talking about real fear, fear that men face. Not the kind that jumps out from a closet, but the kind that wakes you up at 2 a.m., the kind that lives in the back of your mind, whispering that you're not enough, that you're screwing it all up, and that everyone else has it figured out but you. Yeah, that's the kind of fear I'm talking about. And every man knows it. We just don't like to admit it. Because somewhere along the way, we were taught that fear makes you weak. When in reality, fear just means you're a man. You're human. And the trick isn't just getting rid of fear. It's learning to walk through it. So today we're going to talk about the monsters we face. The fear of failure, fear of not being enough, and fear of being truly seen for who we are. The ones that live inside all of us. So let's address the big one first. And I've certainly been down this path before. The fear of failure, right? I think that's a big one. Every guy I've ever known, including myself, at some point has wrestled with this one. Whether it's at work, in your marriage, as a dad, or just as a man trying to be better, there's that fear of dropping the ball, fear of not measuring up. That can eat you alive if you let it. I know it's eaten me alive before. I think when I was younger, I thought failing meant that I wasn't good enough, that if I fell short, if somehow said something about who I was as a man. But failure's not the opposite of success. It's really the forge and the challenge and the struggle that shapes it. I think every time I've fallen flat on my face, whether it was in leadership, in my personal life, or just trying to figure out who I am as a person and as a man, those moments hurt like hell. But they also stripped away everything that wasn't real. They burned off pride, ego, control, you name it. And what was left was something a little stronger. It was a little more honest. And I think that we spend so much time trying to avoid failure that we forget it's the thing that builds us up. You can't sharpen steel without friction. You can't build strength without weight. And you sure as hell can't grow without failing and falling on your face a few times. So the fear of failure, it's just fear of learning out loud and accepting. So what else are we afraid of as guys? How about the fear of not being enough? If you're a husband, if you're a father, I think this one hits pretty close to the heart. Fear of not being enough. This one's also quiet. It doesn't yell, it just kind of lingers in the background. It shows up when you see another guy doing better than you, when you miss a deadline, when you forget something your kid told you, when your wife looks at you and you know she's tired, and maybe you are too. It's that whisper that says, you should be more than this. And listen, that voice, it's a liar. It's convincing, but it's a liar. Because somewhere deep down, we tie our worth to productivity, to our paycheck, our income, our titles, or how much we can carry before we break. But confidence, real confidence, it's not about pretending you've got it all together. It's about knowing that who you are right now is enough. And that doesn't mean you stop growing. It means you stop hating yourself while you grow. And the truth is, there's always going to be someone that's faster, stronger, richer, or more successful. But no one else can live your story. And if you keep trying to measure your worth by someone else's ruler or social media presence, I think you're always going to come up short. Because being enough isn't about being perfect, it's about being present, especially for those that are around you. We've got some other fears too, right? And maybe this one isn't quite as popular, but again, it's another hidden fear, the fear of being seen. I don't mean seen like standing on stage or being noticed. I mean really seen. The kind of scene where you drop the mask, where people see that you're tired, you're unsure, you're scared, you're lacking confidence, or maybe just deep down you feel broken. And I think most men are terrified of that. We'd rather say, "Oh, I'm good," or "I've got this," or we tell our buddies to man up or power through it when we're not, because that feels safer than admitting that we're struggling. Actually, I was out for a walk the other day and I thought something that was pretty conflicting. I caught myself walking with my head down and I was deep in thought. And I said to myself, wait, why do I have my head down? Well, first of all, I was focused. I was walking pretty fast. I wanted to try to get that walk in before a certain time. So I had goals. But I thought to myself, pick your head up, Zach. Look around you. Enjoy the scenery around you. Enjoy the warm weather that it was for mid to end October and be present and take it all in. And then I thought to myself, we often tell people, not just men, we tell our kids or our coworkers or our friends or our spouses, when they have their head down, anybody with a little bit of emotional intelligence can say, okay, that means that somebody is feeling some type of way, right? Maybe they're sad, maybe they're in a depressive state, maybe they're lacking confidence, maybe they're angry. And that's to me what signifies when someone has their head down. And so what do we do as people? What do we do as men? We say, pick your head up, right? Pick your head up. Because what we're trying to instill is confidence. We're trying to restore that person back to their well being. But then I thought to myself, how often do we tell men, and this is where the confliction comes into play, how often do we tell men to put your head down and grind and work it out? Put your head down. Do what you have to do as a man. Get it done, right? So how is that helping? Why do we tell people to pick their heads up, but yet we're telling men to keep their heads down and grind? That's not what we're meant to do, right? So where does brotherhood play into all this? Real brotherhood? We don't encourage that. We encourage our friends to keep their head up. Be present. Stop pretending, right? Be vulnerable. That's where brotherhood is built. Honesty. Being honest. If you got your head down for a reason, maybe you're not grinding, but maybe for one of those other reasons we talked about. If you're being honest, you'll be able to pick your head up. You ever notice how, when one guy opens up, the whole room changes? Sometimes the tension drops. Sometimes people get a little uncomfortable. But a lot of times I've noticed that other guys start nodding because deep down we're all carrying that same version or some version of the same stuff. And I think it's really powerful the moment one person says, yeah, me too. I felt that before, or I've been down that road. I've felt that. And I think the fear loses some of its power when that acknowledgement comes. Because fear grows in silence, but it dies in the light. So if you're walking through something right now, don't walk alone. Reach out, call a buddy, talk to your brother, your dad, your friend, whoever your circle is, whoever your tribe is. Because I think that you'd be really surprised how much strength shows up the moment you stop carrying that weight all by yourself. So another thing that I really thought is linking fear to sort of that masculine and testosterone roaming fire within us. And I think it's as simple as putting it this way, that fear is not always the enemy. Sometimes it's the spark that shows you where to go. It's the fuel that you need to pick yourself up after you fail. So when you feel fear, it's usually pointing towards something that matters, something that challenges you, something that can make you grow, but only and only if you're willing to walk into it. So instead of asking, how do I get rid of this fear? Try asking, what's this fear trying to teach me? Because fear is a teacher, let's face it. And every man who's ever built confidence, purpose, or peace, he's had to learn from it, some sort of fear. So yeah, it's spooky season, it's Halloween, the ghosts and goblins are out, but maybe the scariest monsters are the ones that we're carrying inside, not the one walking around tonight. The ones that are whispering, you're not ready, you're not enough, you're going to fail. But here's the truth. You are ready. You are enough. And you're going to fail sometimes, but you'll learn, you'll grow, and you'll rise stronger every goddamn time. So whatever's haunting you this season, I encourage you to just face it. Name it and just walk to it. Say it out loud. Because the fire inside you, it burns hotter than the fear you'll ever face. I can tell you that. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Into the Fire. If this one hits home, please share it with someone who you think needs to hear it today. And, if you're willing to walk through that fire and face your fear right now, whether it be big or small, remember, you're not alone in the dark. Okay? And please don't forget to check out more episodes on Spotify and YouTube. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Check out all the content that we have on our website, forageandfreedom.com. And until next time, stay sharp, stay grounded, and we'll catch you on the next episode.